my goodness. We are live. Welcome, everybody, to the Happily Hour. Brought to you by Hapily. If you don't know who Hapily is, we build apps on HubSpot. We make HubSpot better in every single way. We solve all of your fun HubSpot headaches that you know all too well. Joining me today, we have a very special episode of the Happily Hour. I am joined by a good friend of mine, good friend of yours, friend of the entire HubSpot community, if we're being honest. Some would even call him the mayor. Ladies and gentlemen, Rob Jones is here with me today. Rob.
The applause is a nice touch. I like that.
It's a nice touch, right? I know I said I was going to go into it much quicker than I did, but when I posted or when I went live, I realized I didn't prep a post to actually share out that we're actually going to be live. So I was literally just sitting there listening to the music, just being like, oh crap, I forgot to write that we're actually going live. Here we go. So went and posted that. So hopefully people
non-zero chance was good.
Yeah. So hopefully people will actually remember it was at 2 p.m. Eastern and they'll come back. Guys, if you're joining us live, go ahead and throw a little message in the chat. Whether you're joining us on LinkedIn here, we're also live on YouTube as well. If you prefer a live viewing experience over there, we're over on the Happily channel. Let me actually double check and make sure that's actually live right now. I'm just gonna go double check. Let's see. Yes, it is. Wonderful. Okay, cool. So we are live pretty much everywhere. Wonderful. Confirmed. All right, great. You got a little bit of double audio there. Totally fine. It's never hurt anybody. Let me bring this up so I can take a peek. Looks like we got a couple of live viewers joining in. That's amazing. All right, sweet. So guys, format of the show is, we typically go through and just do a lot of just HubSpot related stuff, right? I don't really think we've done enough of these shows to really have a standardized format yet, but I asked my friend Rob, your friend Rob, all of our friends Rob, if he could come join us today. However, we got this chat window open. If you have any questions about HubSpot or inbound in any capacity whatsoever, go ahead and drop it in the chat window. We will stop what we're doing. We'll give you our take on it. Anything we can do to help, we're here. We're doing this for you, right? So feel free to ask us any questions along the way. But before we kind of get started and dive into stuff, Rob, how you doing, man?
Good, man. Very orange today.
Yeah.
Red Partners is awesome.
How is this different than any other day?
Talking with the mustache. I feel like people haven't seen me or seen anything except for a couple videos. But yes, I grew facial hair for a bit. Expect that pretty soon. And the wife, Megan, shout out. I apologize for it. It never was meant to go this far, but here we are.
Here we are, and I hope it never goes away. I will say it is lately is one of my favorite.
I've been called the Tom Selleck of HubSpot. So I don't know for sure.
Tom Selleck of Sales Hub. Yeah.
The Selleck of Sales Hub, yes.
Rob, for anyone who's been living under a rock and doesn't know who you are or what you do or who you do it for, go ahead and give us the give us the Rob Jones story.
How much? This is an hour, you said?
Yeah,
I'll give you the abbreviated version. I'm Rob Jones. I am colloquially the mayor of Inbound, the orange suit. I work for Rev Partners. I'm the creative lead, although I've kind of bounced around within Rev Partners. I started as an intern, was an interim sales person for a little bit. I was an AE, then I was on the growth team. Now I'm here. I think if you've seen me in any capacity at Inbound or on LinkedIn creatively, I don't think there could be a better fit for my humor and skill set than doing what I'm doing now. And I do it for, obviously biased, but Rev Partners, one of the elite premier HubSpot partners in the ecosystem. So that is who I am. I am always not the smartest person in rooms that I'm in, which is great. It's awesome to be surrounded by people that are way smarter than me. And if you are going to ask questions, the person that I usually ask them to help me is on the Discord with me. So
nice.
Awesome, I'll reroute them back to you.
I love it. I love it. Well, anyway, Rob, thanks for joining me. I figured today, we had a new little HubSpot product updates for October video drop from our good friend, mentor, HubSpot superhero Kyle Jepson. I haven't seen the video. You haven't seen the video. I would like to think that I've kept up with what happened in October in terms of like product updates and things like that.
Would like to think. Yeah.
I'd like to think, yeah. I'd like to think I'm well connected to folks that keep me appraised of new stuff that's happening. Yet there always seems to be plenty of things that skirt past my radar that I completely miss, and it surprises me. So, going through
I don't know how anyone keeps up with it. I don't. I mean, they put out, there's so many updates, so many areas all the time. It's masterful that anyone can keep up with the HubSpot product team.
Yeah.
It's just wild.
It's absolutely insane. Guys, if you're in the chat, if you have like one particular source you go to, or any particular methods of how you're keeping up with just the sheer violent velocity in which the HubSpot product team updates HubSpot, please let us know what's been working with you or working for you. Anyway,
I'll shout out Jepson, whose video we're about to watch, but Shadab at Rev Partners, I think Kyle has commented before, like, you beat me to this update. So yeah. Follow Shadab Khan for more HubSpot updates.
Yeah.
That's just my contribution to who to follow.
Hell yeah. Yeah. The HubSpot product update military industrial complex is very real. It is, I don't think I've ever seen a more active community around a SaaS product in terms of like making sure everyone knows like what the is going on at all times. It's awesome. Casey, there you go. Oh, another fan of Shadab there. Very good. Awesome. We love it. Cool. So let's go ahead and dive into it. But first, a little word from our sponsors, obviously. So again, folks, you're tuning into the Hapily Hour. Hapily Hour is just a little community show that I do. Sometimes I bring in friends like Mr. Rob Jones here to give back any sort of value we possibly can to the HubSpot community. But it is the Hapily Hour, so of course we have to take a second to acknowledge our sponsor, even though I work at this company. But the Hapily Hour is brought to you by Hapily, and we help companies HubSpot happily by building apps on HubSpot that extend the use of HubSpot in a million different ways that you could really imagine. We've got a whole bunch of different apps, anywhere from like Zebra, which is our integration with Stripe. We got a really cool new app coming out soon called Orchestrate, which is going to be native event management on HubSpot, so you don't have to use any other tools to be able to do that. We also have a suite of really neat utility apps that solve for these very specific minute headaches inside of HubSpot, such as the ability to clone CRM objects with Clone Attack, or our really popular one, Associate, which allows you to use workflows to automate associations, all the way to Timerman, which takes service level agreement management to a whole new level if you're using the Service Hub. And we got another one called TikTok Today, which is probably the simplest yet most powerful app that I've seen in a long time. It literally just creates a today's date property and it updates it every single day, so you can do all those tasty time between calculated fields that you want, right? And hey, if you're ever building a real estate website on HubSpot, you got to check out Real City. And I'll leave it at that. A little bit of personal news for me on my end. I'm taking my very cringy merch store and I'm actually turning it into the beginnings of a cute little brand here. Some of you may have seen my Close One City hats for quite some time, but I am taking Close One City to the next level. And I'd say the timing's probably perfect considering we got the holidays coming around the corner. So listen, your sales reps want nothing more than hats that say Close One City on them. So put your orders in now if you're getting ready for those end of year gifts. We've got our very popular Close One City line of hats available in a number of different styles, such as flat brims as well as beanies. And we got the dad hats. Then we also have our brand new Ultra Admin collection for when Super Admin is not enough. We all know that you're Ultra Admins out there. And then, of course, the very, very popular RevOps Goblin. This is, for some reason, a crowd favorite, and I have no idea why, but shout out to all the RevOps goblins out there. Anyway, closeonecity.com, go check it out. It's my little personal brand passion project. Yeah, put some cool battle gear on your head for all those Zoom meetings. Rob, you ready to dive into this?
I need to buy one of those. I have gone to the even back when it was maxjacobcohen.com. You've moved from there.
Shop.maxjacobcohen.com. It'll still take you there.
I've gone to the site. I should have ordered. I guess the miscommunication. I was waiting on you to send me one. Just for being a friend. But a real friend would have ordered 10. So I'm gonna go do that. I'm gonna commit to ordering just a stockpile of Close One City hats and RevOps Goblin. Those are my favorite.
Absolutely love it. You are just amazing, and you're my shining star. I love you. Anyway, all right, guys. We have to do more stuff together. Honestly, it's kind of crazy that we haven't done a live yet. All right, folks. So we got lined up here the October updates from HubSpot. I'm wondering if I should just full screen this? Yeah, you know what? Why don't we just do that? I think that probably looks a lot better. And of course, it's brought to us by just the wonderful, beautiful, adorable, all-knowing, super wise, incredibly knowledgeable Kyle Jepson. So we're going to go ahead and start this. We're going to take a look. Again, me and Rob have not pre-watched this, right? So we do not know kind of what he's going to talk about. So all of our reactions are going to be genuine. And we're going to take a look at this. And if we have time, keep in mind, this is just the October product updates. If you go take a look at that little product updates tab in your HubSpot panel, or in your HubSpot menu, whatever, I don't even know why I said panel. There is just a ridiculous amount of things already going on in November that look pretty exciting. So we'll take a peek at that too if we have some time. Rob, when do you have a hard stop? At 3 Eastern?
2 Central. So
okay, sweet.
Yep.
Cool. All right, awesome. Let's go ahead and dive into this, and we'll get going.
Hey everyone, welcome to the October 2023 Product Spotlight video, where I'm walking you through some of the biggest updates from HubSpot.
Can we just talk about for a second? I just love that Kyle's got all of his kids' artwork in the background. It's just the most adorable touch.
I have family pictures. I was about to comment on that, dude. We're on the same wavelength.
Yeah.
I also want to say to whoever is listening and knows Kyle from HubSpot Tips and Tricks and his role, he is obviously smart. He's on the cutting edge of all these updates. It's what he's supposed to do. But he is one of the most genuinely nice people I've ever met. I'm sure you can.
I love him.
So it makes me want to watch him give this,
Yes.
and the background is just like a little cherry on top.
Yeah.
Good job, Kyle.
Dude, to be honest with you, like that's why I hit you up yesterday to do this, because I had just seen yesterday that they had posted this. Like, I don't know if it was yesterday or a couple of days ago, but I saw that it was Kyle, and I was like, oh man, me and Rob need to get on a screen with Kyle somehow, and he's a busy person, but this is probably the closest thing that we can do.
I was unavailable for comment, but yes, this is us getting all together, getting the gang back together. This is as good as we can do for right now.
Exactly. All right, cool. Let me get rid of these notifications. Boom, 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 boom. All right, sweet. Let's take a peek.
Spot in the last month. Now in Marketing Hub, you have the ability to send emails. It's a very important marketing function. But to protect your deliverability and our own sender reputation, we have to make sure we put limitations in place when emails are not being delivered. So if you are sending a lot of emails and your deliverability performance is not great, there have been banners and warnings to tell you about the situation, but we've heard from a lot of you, they're confusing, the language is not helpful. So we've clarified those to help you understand the severity of the situation and the likelihood of you being put in probation and your sending ability being suspended. So hopefully there are no surprises for you now. If you are seeing these banners, they should be much more helpful, letting you know what you need to do and how you can rectify the situation. So here.
Oh, yo, I just had
a pretty easy thing to happen, right? I mean, this has happened to us before. I'm sure it's happened, but this seems like a pretty significant update just to prevent like a lockdown from your account, right?
Oh yeah, no, 100%. I think I'm having trauma flashbacks right now back to when I was onboarding customers, and they would get like the email saying that like their emailing ability has been suspended. I can't remember the exact like language it gave, but it was like a pretty vague like notification, and it would always go this. They'd get the email, they'd then send it to me and say, hey Max, why'd we get shut down? And then I'd go, I have no idea, I have to go find out. And then I'd go and talk to like the email deliverability people, right? They would tell me what they did, and then I would have to go back and deliver the bad news to them, and then basically be the go-between in like an argument. like before they really like figured this out. So like, I'm glad that like they're putting it actually in the app, and instead of it making it like a vague reason why we went and shut off arguably your most important, like, you know, marketing mechanism in the marketing hub, right? Why you did it. So you can kind of understand in the moment, like what put you in jail.
Yeah, well, that was Casey in the chat said HubSpot jail time, the rip. But yeah, I mean, the banners and notifications before that happens, like it's you get the email, right? It's like you've been locked out or suspended, and the notifications or the trail, you know, like the breadcrumbs leading up to that were more difficult to find. Hopefully, this indicates that they're going to be everywhere and, you know, more ubiquitous and more warning censored. And, you know, there's so much of that it's almost, there's like a habituation concept, like you see one and you become numb to it. This is a cool update.
And honestly too, guys, if you ever get one of these updates, something's going wrong, right? Because if you're doing email marketing the right way, right, you shouldn't be like, you know, getting, you know, these bans and these, you know, service outages, if you will, or however you want to think about it. I mean, start thinking about using things like this. I can't really, like HubSpot calls it like gray mail or something, or no, they call it unengaged contacts, right? So like there's literally a feature that you can turn on when you build your emails. It says don't send to unengaged contacts. And the way that HubSpot, I think by default, considers a contact unengaged is when they haven't opened your past 11 emails, right? So what'll happen is like if you're sending that email and that's turned on and it's about to send it to a contact that hasn't like opened the past emails, it's like, dude, obviously it's not gonna go to them. Now it's optional. You can turn that on or off per email, right? But like think about doing things like that before you're just, you know, going back to the unfortunately two common strategies of just emailing the living shit out of everybody and just like not really thinking about your segmentation or the frequency or like the relevancy of the content. It baffles me that today people are still just annihilating people with email. Like this should be a problem of the past, but anyway.
I fall into the you know, make a lot of people cringe here, but I do have one of my personal accounts has something like 60,000 unread email. I just don't look at them. Now for work, it's nowhere close to that. I'm pretty up to date on that. But most of the only time this has happened, and it's why this is significant for me to remember, it was some incredibly minute detail or like a list, some small thing that warranted this to happen. So it's not necessarily a philosophy of blitzing people all the time with unwanted stuff. Sometimes it can just be like one tiny thing that you forgot to enable or forgot to disable.
Get those
the best of us.
Yeah, get those email sending domains set up at Party People. All right. Anyway, it looks like he's going to talk about the prospecting tool. We've had kind of a very interesting experience with this so far. We're using it internally at Hapily to help us manage like our upsell process. You know, so it's been interesting. Let's see what Kyle has to say about it.
Here I am on the leads management page inside the new prospecting workspace. And what you're seeing here is a list of leads assigned to me. Now, ownership for a lead is inherited from the contact. Contact and company records are still the heart and soul of your HubSpot architecture.
All right, let's pause and talk about that for a second. So I think when a lot of people saw this, they immediately thought, oh, Salesforce, right? And they just thought about that Salesforce lead object like super hard. You know, if you haven't like kind of figured this out already, guys, like lead objects in HubSpot are not at all the same thing as like lead objects in Salesforce, right? Lead objects in Salesforce are almost little records that evolve into full-fledged contacts, where lead objects in HubSpot are more so like an instance of someone becoming like interested in something, is sort of like a way to think about it, right? Like me as a human being, I could interact with your company like multiple times before I buy something, giving different like indicators of, you know, oh yeah, I'm interested in this or I'm interested in that, right? Those are instances of something happening, right? And each time that happens, you can create leads if you want to, right? For different things. I think the lead object has like a little bit more maturing to do to be able to like fully track that kind of stuff. Like for example, you can't rename a lead. It's always just going to take the name of the contact, or it's always going to take the name of the contact essentially that's associated to, because it has a company that it can be associated to as well. But like, you want to think of like leads as things that can actually evolve into deals. And like, this is a really important thing, because one of the worst things I see folks doing in HubSpot is opening deals way before they should ever be opened in the first place, and like tanking people's like open rate or open and close rate for deals, if that's something that you're actually tracking, right? A lead is a great first step to track potential interest in buying something before a deal actually gets opened up, so you can be a little bit more judicious in which, you know, you actually decide on whether or not things should sort of evolve into deals when they get serious versus creating deals for everything. But Rob, have your customers been like using this a whole ton? Do you know, is there a lot of people talking about it over at Rev Partners or what?
Not as much. I had a question that for me, because this isn't, I mean, the prospecting tool and this concept of being able to use HubSpot for this and not some integration is relatively new, and there's updates correspondingly. The lead object, how does that differ from the lifecycle status of somebody being a lead or MQL? And like, how do those two blend? Can you talk a little bit about that? I realized I just turned into the host. Which
No, you're
like...
good. No, you're good. I mean, you are the host, man. We're both hosting. We're co-hosts together, right? Yeah. So think of like the lead as like, again, I say representing an instance of something, right? So, you know, it could be like, I like to think of it as using it like whenever there's like a hand raise, right? When someone says, hey, I want to talk to sales, right? We want to create a lead, right? In order for sales to be like, oh, this person actually said, hey, they want to talk to sales. So I have this like little record that I can kind of keep track of how I'm engaging this person, right? When we think of life cycle stage, like the actual property that sits on a contact record, think of that more for tracking like the entirety of someone like first finding you to them actually being like a happy customer, right? The lead object is representing a very small portion of that entire journey, right? Which is why a life cycle stage is a property on a contact. It's an attribute of you, Rob Jones, right? Versus a time Rob Jones raised his hand to talk to sales or something close to that, right? You know, so it's interesting. I think what's cool about it is you can use it in a number of different ways. Like it's okay for leads to mean different things to different people. The same way you can take a life cycle stage and now customize what those actual stages are, right? You can change that to whatever you want. For the longest time, you were stuck on the default 8, right? Which, you know, it made sense and you can apply like what they were to almost any business. You just had to be like a little bit flexible on your definitions of each one. But now you can customize it that much further. But like in theory, what it should measure is more of that entire journey, right? That entire life cycle from birth to death, if you will.
It's more flexibility, it's more customization, but also I would say one of the most important things there is to make sure the nomenclature is standardized, like internally. So whatever you're referring to as a lead or lead, like all of that needs to be understood and standardized across, you know, your org.
Exactly. And what's cool is like you can customize the stages of these leads to kind of match that, and like whatever that you know little part of the sales process actually is, where you're using this lead to actually manage that stuff. So let's see what Kyle's got to say.
But this lead management thing is a layer that's put on top of that. So Victor and Zeus and Paul, these are all contacts who are assigned to me, but they've been pulled into the prospecting workspace for me to prospect to them. Now, if we go to the lead settings page, we're gonna see in the background how contacts are pulled into this leads experience. And it's mostly this setting right here. We're gonna create a lead based on lifecycle stage, and I have that set to marketing qualified leads. So
answers my question a little bit.
Yeah. So okay. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It kind of does. Yeah. Now, there's a lot of room for interpretation here, right? Because what you're thinking is like, okay, what's moving people to these stages, right? And if I'm triggering this off of a stage, of a life cycle stage, do I know the steps they had to take to actually become that life cycle stage? And does it make sense to create a lead at that point, right? I think it's interesting that he has marketing qualified lead kind of set here. I think this is pretty appropriate because generally the way that I always told people to use life cycle stages, what was interesting about marketing qualified lead and sales qualified lead is in the history of HubSpot and those default properties in life cycle stage, those never had an automatic way of getting there. You always had to define it through workflows, right? And typically what I would tell people to do is like, listen, marketing qualified lead ideally is when marketing has done enough to qualify that lead to talk to sales, right? So like I would say it out loud. Marketing has qualified the lead to talk to sales, right? And then when you look at sales qualified lead, it says sales has qualified this lead as good, right?
Yes.
It was one very simple way of using it. Like people define it in 1,000 different ways, right? And that's okay.
Simple is good.
Yeah, simple is good. But the reason I like, the ability to have marketing put their stamp on it and then have sales put another stamp on it saying, yeah, this was actually a good lead. You can then get together at your end of the month's marketing meeting or marketing and sales alignment meeting or whatever and say, hey, of all the MQLs that we sent over, this is how many were actually sales qualified. And then you look at the difference between those two, and then you can see how well aligned, at least on a definition of what a qualified lead is, sales and marketing is. And there's a number of different ways you can kind of like bend and change around like that methodology and everything, but it was a nice simple way of doing it. But here, what I would say is like, if you're going to use this, think about what's triggering that MQL lifecycle stage or whichever one it is, right? And you're usually doing that through workflows, but also keep in mind, you can use workflows to create lead objects, right? You don't have to just base it on a lifecycle stage property like this. Cool.
Useful.
Love it.
Anytime a contact enters the marketing qualified lead life cycle stage, they're going to get pulled into that prospecting workspace on that lead screen. You can add multiple stages here if you want. It's pretty flexible. And as contacts enter those stages, they'll automatically be moved into this new experience. So if we go back to the prospecting page and head over to leads, again, we're seeing all these leads that are assigned to me. Now, let's say I am working one of
the one thing that like bugs me about this interface is that if I want to go see another like coworker's leads, you have to go back to the summary page and change the owner there and then go back into the leads page. So like there isn't any sort of like top level owner like changing button that is outside of the summary page. So it's kind of janky. You got to go back, change it, and then go back. Like it's, I don't know. It just grinds my gears.
Of these. When a lead first gets moved in, it is in this new stage. That is automatic. Then if I send an email or make a phone call, it will move all by itself to the attempting stage. So this is very similar to the lifecycle status property.
Again, yeah, these are all these stages here, and you can customize these, right? So something that we've done to do like our upsell process is we have stages for like new upsells, and then this thing we're calling expansion for when we're actually trying to like dig into like other folks to talk to at a company, right? And what's cool is like we build workflows that'll automatically create these leads in specific stages, so we kind of know what stage of doing like the reach out to this particular lead that we're actually at. And then you could build a bunch of automation behind these stages moving, because there are lead based workflows. So you can say like, oh, when a lead gets to a specific stage, trigger some other stuff to happen, and blah, 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 blah. It's really cool.
All the reporting and you know, if you're going to use these, you mentioned like having to switch back and forth from top down. I assume, because I'm not running sales calls anymore with kind of the new role, but I would assume that this is, you have a lot more visibility from top down from a managed, like a permission.
Yeah.
Set. If it was me looking at, you know, Furman's or Vinny or somebody at another rep's, their dashboard or their view, that'd be kind of weird, but I really wouldn't need to do that often. But if I was a sales manager or a director, I'd need to be able to have that visibility like built out in a report or a dashboard or a view for. You
can. Yeah. So like I could literally jump in and like see a rep's like view of this leads tool, so I can kind of see like how they're working through these. Right. But what's interesting is, even though this isn't sort of like an object as we know it, where it's like a contact, a company, deal, a ticket, or a custom object that's like on that, you know, sort of framework that we're used to.
Yep.
It is one of these like pseudo objects that's like attached to like contacts, companies, and deals. It does work in the custom report builder, and it shows up just like any other object, right? It has the properties, it has everything else. So like you could build dashboards and everything based on this object, just like you can with the other ones, which is really neat. Yeah. It's super cool.
It's been on contacts for a long time, but now it's fully automatic. And then if I get a reply email or a phone call is labeled as connected, or I log a meeting, we're going to automatically move to connected, which is important because we can filter these to just look at certain stages. And over here on the summary page, I can see a full list of all my new leads, all my attempting leads, all my connected leads, and I can choose to work through just one category of these leads.
Yeah. And this is what I love about this is like, the thing I constantly hear from sales reps is like, I don't want to mess around with views. I don't want to mess around with filters. I just want to have like one place to work.
Yep.
Right. And the cool thing about this, it kind of reminds me, I don't know if anyone still uses like task. Did you ever mess around with task queues, Rob?
Oh yes.
Yeah, where like you had like the iTunes
It's
playlist.
so much better. Yes, so much better to like go through and have it. It's more visibility, but it's more actionable too. I mean, everything seems batched up instead of just having a task queue. Now you have to go sort those. The UX for that was good, but it depends on what all activities you're doing at one time. So this is a vast improvement from that.
Yeah, and it's so neat because like you can still see this all in one page, but then that right hand side is almost like a baby version of either that company or that contact record, and you can literally do all of your important actions like right from there and work through it. The thing that was tough about the task queue stuff is that it would bring you from like record to record to record to record to record, so you weren't able to like go like quickly look back, scan over, and like switch back to the record like you just remembered to forget to do something on, and then like move on to the next one. So it's really neat because they're doing everything they can to be like, listen, if you're an SDR, like you're a sales rep, like we want to make it so like, or I think this is more kind of geared towards like the BDR SDR motion, probably because they're probably spending a lot more time looking at leads before they become deals, right? And just trying to schedule, meetings and stuff like that. It's great because now you don't have to spend a bunch of time bouncing between deal records, like doing all this crazy stuff. You can just do all your communication and outreach, like all right in one place.
It's the attempting, like all of this stuff is a better visual for where they are in sequence or in any of those queues. You almost, like you said, you had to get into the contact record and then go scroll up and down or north, south, whatever. This is a immediate snapshot of like what all has already happened. Where are they? Exactly.
And you're seeing all the XP the Pokemon's getting before it evolves into the deal. Like that's like, that's essentially what you're seeing here, right? Super dope.
25% of the way to Charmander there for
exactly.
Yatato.
Exactly. Speaking of which, we're going to take a little pause here, just kind of in the middle of this. And you know what we're going to do? We're going to rip a pack of Pokemon cards for everybody, just because, you know what? Me and Rob, we're both big fans. We got a nice little pack of Obsidian Flames right here, and we're hoping for a Charizard. We need a little bit of good luck. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and rip this right here. We're going to kind of see what we get. Is the card trick
brought to you by Kyle Jepson?
Yeah. Ooh, I got a white code card. That's generally pretty good. So I think, is it a 4 card trick on these? Like, do you put 4?
I don't even do the. I've tried to look, but there's so many different variations. I just kind of skip ahead. I'm one of those, man. I try to see on the side, the edges, what's in there, but
yeah, you want to guess that? You want to guess an energy?
Psychic, man.
Oh, I effed it up. Hold on.
My son calls that the eyeball energy.
I don't even know what the energy is. I definitely did the card trick wrong. So we're going to, we'll see. We'll see what happens. Anyway. All right. So is this the, oh yeah, I definitely did it wrong. Hold on. Let me actually just take a look. Oh yeah, I messed it up. Anyway. We got a clay doll, not super fun.
Clay doll. Yeah.
There it is, clay doll. Boo, 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 boo. Let's see if there's anything else good in here.
Can't all be winners. I say that all the time.
No, they definitely can't all be winners. Anyway, let's move back onto the video. Sorry for the little, just figured we said Pokemon. So.
Today's HubSpot update brought to you by Ash Ketchum and the Pewter City Gym.
The GOAT, the absolute GOAT. All right, let's get back to the video.
Now, those first 3 stages are fully automated. The one thing I as a salesperson need to do is decide whether this lead is qualified or disqualified.
You said all these can be customized as well. New, attempting, connected, qualified, disqualified. Yeah. Those statuses perly can all be changed. And is it just the number? So not only new, attempting, connected, can you add statuses? Can you? Okay, cool.
Yeah, it's actually kind of interesting. We might even actually, let's just take a quick peek at it, right? So if we go, let me go into my test portal here. If we go and take a look at let's do objects and then leads. You've got, here, I'll start using leads. So yeah, so what you see is this like leads stages page here, right? Let me move you down here. So I'm going to move you over here so everyone can see you.
This is pretty standard where you can add stages or changing it. Yeah, all this. This is just the default, what it starts with, those 5. Okay.
It is. Yeah. What's important to kind of note though, because this is kind of like a new way that they've done this, right? Is they actually tell you like the automation that kicks in, right? So leads are moved to this stage based on like a user sending or receiving an email, right? And then what is it when they reply, right? So, but you can add in additional stages here too as well. So if I wanted to add a new stage into any of these like bigger stages, right? Because you've got not started, progress, or in progress, qualified, and disqualified, right? They all kind of like do different things, right? So like here, for example, you can see when it gets to qualified, like it's literally giving you the option to create a deal here, right? Which is super neat. So you just want to kind of like pay extra attention to that, because this is where it gets a little bit different than just like regular like deal stages or ticket stages or custom object pipeline stages and stuff like that, because the automation is more so baked in versus like completely custom. But you can always add some other stuff via like a workflow and things like that. So, but yeah, a lot of cool stuff already built in.
I say qualified, I'm going to be dropped immediately into the create a deal flow, because the thought is once a lead is qualified, they need to be an opportunity and have a deal to track that sale in progress. The other option is disqualified. So if I say they are disqualified, I have to give a reason why. These options are customizable, but let's say it was bad timing.
That's a cute little addition here. You see how it automatically gives you that chance to like create a task to follow up in like a certain amount of time.
More manually,
yeah. Like they're just like adding these things in here that make it just like you don't even have to think about it. It's right there where you expect it to be, where it's like, cool, you want to be reminded to like try again later. Boom, you can go ahead and do it. I wonder where that notes field goes. That's an interesting one for me. Like, is this going to go sit somewhere on the corresponding like company record, or is this gonna like just be stuffed somewhere in a lead record? I'd want to know that.
I would hope it would go on the contact record. I used to use notes for that all the time. Just for instead of opening a Google Doc, I would just type it in. But the note on the contact record, if that's where it pops up, that'd be, again, maybe that's preferential to just be sitting there on the contact,
that would,
company or whatever it might be.
That would actually make a lot of sense. Yeah, that it would just like post a note, like a note activity to the contact or the company, instead of leaving it like enclosed within the lead object itself. Maybe we can test it later if we have time.
3 months from now, I can add notes if I want. Let's say it's there.
Or maybe Kyle's going to tell us.
It's there.
Maybe he's going to tell us here in a second.
And I can disqualify this lead. Once you disqualify leads, you so you can focus on the ones that are still progressing forward, and that task we set will automatically bring them back up when it's time to check in again. In CMS Hub, we've introduced new modules to let contacts export and delete their data. So if you have a page where you're...
Whoa. Did he say, wait.
Export and delete their data modules in CMS Hub.
So if I'm a visitor on your site, and I go to your website, he's saying there's a button I can hit to delete my contact from your CRM.
Data, I'm not sure. To me, I interpreted that oddly as like cookies, or I don't know what. I mean, I don't know. Let's dive further in. We expected him to say that where the note went, but he didn't. So maybe we'll have to investigate
hit us with a CMS curveball. Let's go.
Their data. So if you have a page where your contacts can manage their subscription information, you can add this module to it to let them export their data that they have provided to you and delete it if they want. This is an...
So he said an email. So a page that shows subscriptions. So what he's probably saying is in your email subscription pages, where like I can go and say, I do want to get emails of this type. I don't want to get emails of this type. He's saying you can add a module to it that will allow them to
like an opt-out module. Is that?
Well, the opt-out module is like built into those subscription pages, but it sounds like it's an additional one that can say, let me suck my data out of your system, then also let me self-service deleting myself from your CRM. Which, you know what, I wonder if this is like a GDPR thing. Like, I'm not a GDPR. It's got to be something like that.
That's where my head went.
All right. That's cool. Props to HubSpot for like always.
My favorite update, but we're not all the way through the video.
Exactly. But like what I will say is props for HubSpot on like always erring on the side of like privacy of the folks that you're marketing to, right? And like continuously giving you features to let those folks take their privacy like into their own hands, you know what I mean, versus trying to like circumvent or like skirt around that stuff, which I see a lot of other platforms do. So it is interesting.
We're kind of, GDPR, we don't have to be as familiar, but we are a lot of the time. But that's more Europe, right? That's more like non-US based. So we can't forget about our friends, across wherever. Because HubSpot is growing so much globally, I feel like this update makes a lot of sense. Maybe not to us over here.
Well, I mean, if you're selling into Europe, it does. Because you don't want to.
Yes, I mean, we work with people in Europe and other places. So if that's, again, just me being ignorant of it doesn't mean it's not important to another segment of people.
Yeah, I'd say when in doubt, GDPR it out. It can't hurt. All right, let's do it.
Important thing for GDPR and other privacy measures.
Oh, there you go, Kyle.
There you go.
For you to offer to your
we should just play the video for 10 more seconds.
It's now Commerce
But then we won't have any content.
The thing we have been calling HubSpot
All right, so
for a long time.
we stepped over Kyle saying HubSpot Payments is now Commerce Hub, which is super exciting for folks interested. We just did a joint webinar with Jack Cooper-Smith, who's heading up the team that's actually building Commerce Hub, right? He came in and we talked about Commerce Hub and Zebra, specifically for how we're solving for Stripe customers and how Zebra and Commerce Hub like serve different types of customers versus like directly compete with each other. But definitely go check that out. Like if you're a HubSpot customer using Stripe, right? There's some reasons why you might want to use HubSpot Payments, and there's other reasons why you might want to use Zebra. And it was a really fun webinar that kind of like irons out all that stuff and makes it super easy for everybody. So even though we make Zebra, we're big fans of HubSpot Payments and Commerce Hub over here.
Now we are calling.
Are you Rob? Are you guys doing a lot with Commerce Hub? Is like or like HubSpot Payments? Like, do you get a lot of customers on that?
No, I don't think so. Not that I'm aware of. Okay. Again, I've been kind of removed from that seat for a while now. We're our capacity and how we serve our partners. We're excited about all of the updates, just so people have more optionality.
Yeah.
Like you said, Stripe and Zebra is like probably the best and most frequent one. That's why there's Zebra is its whole. It's like a whole institution, but just the optionality that they're increasing, because one of the things HubSpot does really, really well that I've been around this for 2 years now. So I wasn't, I don't know from back when it was just a marketing automation platform, is they respond really well, really robustly and quickly to, I'm not going to call them complaints, but I'm going to call them the community of like, it'd be awesome if we had a way to better manage like all of that stuff within HubSpot.
Yeah.
So yeah, I need to dive in. And check out what Commerce Hub does, and hopefully Kyle kind of.
I'm sure he'll get into it.
By the way, I'm looking at where he's frozen right now. I go. Sorry.
Good God.
I just completely derailed us, but Kyle is so less flattering image of our buddy Kyle.
We'll get him. We'll get him out of this hellhole of a pause. Yeah.
Hub, and we're excited to grow it up and make it a full product line. If you are in the US and you would like to start collecting payments through HubSpot, come check it out. This is the
and if you're not in the US, you can use Stripe and you can use Zebra. Anyway, going forward.
Page where you can set up payments inside of your HubSpot portal. There's a couple ways to get there. First, you can go to Sales and go to Payments and click on Payments. Or if you're on the settings page already, you can just find the payments section and you'll be brought to this page. In order to start collecting payments through HubSpot, you need to go through a quick qualification process and you need to connect a bank account so we have a place to deposit your funds. The page I showed you will walk you through that and you can get set up pretty quickly. In Operations Hub, we've introduced an option for you or other users to get notified when a particular workflow has issues.
Nice.
And the great news is you don't have to have Operations Hub to use this feature. All enterprise accounts have access to it. So here we are.
I think for the folks that might be new to HubSpot, that kind of stuff is definitely going to confuse people. Like what a lot of people don't get is that when you have HubSpot CRM, you always at least have Marketing Hub free, Sales Hub free, Service Hub free, CMS Hub free, Operations Hub free, right? When we talk about Commerce Hub, that's just HubSpot Payments, right? That is also free. Or actually, no, I think you have to have a paid version of something to use that. I can't remember exactly what it is. But when he says, oh, it's Operations Hub, but you don't have to have Operations Hub to have it. It's like you don't have to have a paid version of it, right? If you have HubSpot
or whatever else.
Yeah. It's like you can't have HubSpot CRM without having all the other free tools. It just means that stuff just comes into it. Like I always like to say, HubSpot CRM is always just a conglomeration of all the hubs, right? That all the hubs are what comprises HubSpot CRM, and you get all the free features for everything. It's not like you have to go unlock it. You know what I mean? But yeah, that could be
shout out
confusing
to the qualification process for the Commerce Hub, by the way. That's crucial. And I mentioned that because we just said that HubSpot seems to always err on the side of caution, privacy, and safety, especially with the GDPR thing we were talking about. But not having that qualification process in place, I can foresee some stuff happening.
Yep. I remember the first time I ever tried to sign up for it, I got denied by the underwriting team because they were just like, we're not turning this on for friends and family HubSpot portals. And I'm like, damn it. I just wanted to.
You failed the qualification test.
I was like, I just wanted to sell some consulting under the table. What is this? Yeah. Anyway, I can say that now because I don't work there anymore. Not that I ever did it, but still. Anyway.
On a workflow that I want to get notified about if anything goes wrong with it. I can come to this settings and notifications tab, and under notifications, I can select myself as a person who needs to be notified, and I can toggle on this new when this workflow needs review option. So
I wonder how it decides that. Setting this on will trigger notification if the workflow status changes to needs review. Like, how many errors does it need to have before it puts it into that like needs review section? But again, like what's really cool about this is like usually when your workflows are having errors, if you don't happen to like stumble into the workflows tool and see the big giant red dots when there's like big errors next to your workflows, it's hard to tell. And like, here's the deal. Sometimes like workflows are going to error out and like, it's not a big deal. Like for example, you know, sometimes if you're running like associate in workflows, right? Usually when you get an error back from that, it just means that there wasn't anything to match it up with. So like our integration threw an error back and you could do that. Like that you don't really need to worry about. But like if it's workflows where you don't expect it and it's like a business critical process and you don't want to have to constantly be checking that screen to see if anything went wrong, now you can just be like, all right, tell me for these ones, but I don't care for the rest, right? It's pretty sweet.
Anytime we suspect something is wrong with this workflow, I will get notified right away. Once you set that up on the workflow,
what is it? So I got to ask this because there's so many updates and there's so many different moving parts now and so many different cool things that you can do with that Ops Hub functionality that's even free that you mentioned. What does he mean? Like, what does it mean to define an error? Something, I think you said, we suspect something's not working. What all is that now inclusive of?
So the easiest way to think about it is like when workflows are running actions, right? Like when, you know, the contact gets enrolled and then it's like going through an action. If that action fails for any reason, it calls it an error, right? So like it could be like, oh, we tried to set this property on this object. However, it was missing a value from where you wanted to pull it from. So it couldn't do it, right? And it just moved on to the next step. Or it's like, you know, we tried to enroll this contact, but like they didn't meet the right, you know, criteria at the time or something. You know, there could be a million different things that like trigger like an actual, you know, error, right? But, you know, a lot of the times it's looking for specific things to happen where it's not able to complete the action in the way that you defined it. So it had to move on, but then it tells you that there's an error there. So you can go and fix it for next time. Yeah.
Oh, it is you defining it.
You don't have to define the error. You're defining the action in the workflow. And if it can't complete it in the way that you asked it to do it, it's generally going to throw an error. Yeah.
You can go to your personal notification settings to decide how you will be notified. Whether that's an email notification, an in-app notification, a Slack notification, there are lots of options. You choose the one that'll work best for you. In Smart CRM functionality, the CRM record page editor is now fully out of beta, and it is a joy to use. Check this out. So here I am.
The Smart CRM functionality is an interesting thing. I remember talking to a lot of the solutions engineers that were at Inbound, and they were at the demo tables, and there was a demo table called Smart CRM, which was like a new phrase or something that the marketing team started using, but like the SEs weren't really communicated to it. I think what they're doing is they're just like referencing how much you can customize it and the extensibility of like the CRM interface and stuff like that. But it was funny because they had people coming up to them at Inbound saying, so what's the Smart CRM? And they were going, like they didn't know how to like respond to like what the definition of that actually was, right? So it was funny because I kept hearing like,
I mean, no, I mean, so I'm kind of a Luddite at certain things, and I know that you can have a smart home now. Ours is outfitted at least to be able to have that functionality with like your fridge telling you when you need to. To me, that's what it means. It's
Yeah.
like there's so much more optionality within something that already exists. It's not necessarily a whole new hub or a whole new feature set, but just the fact that there's so much more you can do within it is similar or analogous to me to a smart home.
I think that's actually a perfect analogy for what they try to like convey with this. Cause like, for example, a lot of the times when they're having the smart CRM conversation, it's a lot of like record customization and like tabs and views and columns and sections. And what's really interesting is they have a bunch of new features on there for things like conditional sections or only making certain stuff show up for certain teams, right? And sort of automating the way that the information is displayed and the record is shown to someone, based on some simple things it understands about the user, right? So yeah, like the smart fridge, analogy there actually like tracks like perfectly. But yeah, let's take a look at what Kyle's gonna say about it.
On the contact settings page, but you can do this for any object type. If you go to the record customization tab, you can come over to the customize the middle column option. In professional and enterprise, you can customize this for specific teams, but let's just look at the default view. Here I am editing the default view for my contacts, and I can choose what cards are going to appear here in the overview tab, and I can even add new tabs if I want to. October PSV tab. And when you create a new tab, you get to decide what goes on it. There are all these pre-made cards you can use, but you can also create a card.
All right, let me pause here. This is like, I could talk about this for hours, so I'm not going to stop like for too long. This is like one of the coolest updates to HubSpot in a very, 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 very long time. Specifically, what I hope he mentions in just a second.
Fully from scratch. So if you want to add an association table or a list, if you want to have data highlights, the properties card, or you can add reports to this.
There it is. Okay. So hold on.
The ability to add a single object report directly.
Okay. All right. He's going to talk about it. We'll take a look at it and then I'll talk about why this is so cool.
Directly to an individual object record is huge. Let me show you an example I created. So here I am on a company record, and you can see I've added this custom leads tab. So using some of the functionality from the new leads management experience inside Sales Hub, I created a leads report where I can see how many leads I am currently working and how many activities I have logged for those leads in this quarter so far.
Okay, so hold on. Let's just go back to this. So there always used to be these like really awkward conversations that I would have with customers doing onboarding where they're like, hey, can I see like a report of like, how many deals this company had? Like when we're looking at like a company record, for example, right? And what was always so goofy about it is you're like, well, when you think of reports in HubSpot, you think of like a dashboard of reports or like going to a report in the report library. And it's never just about like one object, like one specific object. So like if you're selling to Pepsi, it's like, I want to see a report for Pepsi and like all of their deals and stuff like that. And it was always like, well, I mean, you can see it from the record in like the properties. Like you could look on the left-hand side and see like numbers and stuff in there, but like that was never like a report, right? And it would be awkward too, because you'd be saying it's like generally when you're building reports, it's more of like an aggregate of data, like across all of your records, and it's not like for individual ones. Now, could you go in there and like filter stuff down and like spend all the time going through your filters to like get it down to like one object and company name equals like, it's like, sure, you could do that, but that's like super clunky. This solves that problem. And for anyone,
I was gonna say, it looks so much easier than having to get like, this is already there. It's accessible. It creates a lot of visibility. It's very specific without having to get so granular from a high level report and take that down and pare it all down to the one thing you're trying to see. And it's right there for you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So what's sick about this is you can create single object reports. It's really important for folks to understand that this does not work with full custom reports in the custom report builder, because those get like way too complex for this to like kind of work, right? Or maybe one day they'll make it work somehow. But single object reports, you can go and build those, and then you can stuff them into these middle tabs that you can build. And the magic that happens here is it automatically filters those reports to only show data for objects in that report that are directly associated to this specific object record you're looking at, right? So if this was a report about deals,
I was just about to ask
yeah,
about that. Yeah.
If this is a report about deals, if I just go into the reports tool and I look at it, it's showing me deals for, you know, whatever the filters are, right?
Yep.
But if I come into an individual record, I'm only seeing deals associated to this company, and I don't have to go in and do the filters or anything. It just knows to do that, right? Which is really cool.
Filter nullifier. Yeah,
yep, exactly. So what's super neat about this is I remember, you know, in Zebra sales calls that I've been on, right, where folks ask like, oh, okay, I get that there's an object for a subscription, but can I look at this object and like see all the payments that someone's made for the subscription? And it's like, yeah, you could go look on like the right hand side and you could see all the associated transaction objects, and you kind of got to scroll through that. Now we literally have subscription objects, and you can see a report over time of every single payment made to that subscription, which is so cool. And it's all just visual, and it's just on there. You don't have to think about it. You don't have to sort through like a whole, like just clump of transaction records associated to it. It's just laid out for you, right? So like, this is sick.
Perfect. And
yeah. Good.
Everything I've said, Kyle says about 5 seconds later. So I assume it doesn't stop with the overview activities or leads. Like that's the middle tab of columns where you could add subsequently deals, pay, like whatever other single objects into that.
Correct. Yeah. You can do all the different, you can do all these different like tables and stuff like that, and like totally customize these middle panels. It's sick.
So far. In HubSpot's app marketplace, we have a new integration for Webflow. Take a look at this. This integration makes it easy to connect Webflow and HubSpot together. So if you're using HubSpot
Boo, other CMS platforms. Boo, just kidding. Webflow is so sick.
You can connect them to HubSpot.
Webflow is awesome.
Many other options. As with all of our integration,
it kind of seems like this is more on par with like, you know, the deep integration we already have with like WordPress, right? It looks like they're kind of bringing that like crafted by HubSpot, like what's the ultimate integration we could build with like another CMS platform out there, and like sort of giving that same love and treatment that we do for WordPress over to Webflow. Like Webflow is more super cool. Yeah.
Shout out, by the way, for this integration thing. I think you scrolled past it, but it says details, requirements, resources, and then at the bottom it says legal stuff. I love how it just says legal stuff in there. I mean, it's
legal stuff.
All of our integrations, you can connect it in just a few clicks from right here in the marketplace. That's all the updates we're going to cover in this video, but as always, there are a ton of other updates we can't get to. HubSpot continues to move along very quickly, so be sure to visit HubSpot.com/new to see the full list of what came out in October.
Man.
There you go, HubSpot.com/new. I would probably add that with Shadab and whatever other recommendations there are.
Yeah.
How many, I mean, does anybody, I guess you could go to HubSpot.com/new and maybe filter back to like, you know, the beginning of the year, but do you have an estimate or a rough idea of like numerically, like in the hundreds, how many product updates have there been this year? Like 2023
year?
Yeah, I mean, it's got to be in the thousands.
It has to be. Back when I was still at HubSpot, I had an email filter for all the product update emails that they would send out, and I could literally go into the Google group and see every single notification. So there was a day where I could literally tell you that number. Obviously I don't have access to that anymore, but like, yeah, it's gotta be, it's insane. Like if you go, you know, and anyone who's like looking to see, you know, as close to real time, like updates and everything, if you go into your HubSpot account here, I'm not sharing my screen here. Let's do this. If you go into your HubSpot account, we'll zoom in way too far. But if you go to your drop down, there is a tab that says, no, I don't want to change the thing. Product updates. And if you go into there, you'll see every single one. Okay. It's November 9th, right? So it's November 9th. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That's just today.
Yeah.
Okay.
What I'm saying, 7. We'll call it 5 per day for however many days there. I mean, it's got to be, you know, 1,000 plus. That's just wild. Is that normal? I mean, you've been around this environment longer than I have. It doesn't seem normal for a company to just launch. You said violently. You said something like
violent velocity.
Yeah, it is, man. It's just so wild how much they're doing. And and this isn't really a plug for anything, but there's been a lot of like hashtag Hubolution and our kind of involvement in inbound. That's what we're talking about.
Yeah.
It's not. It's a philosophical update to where the last 30 years in the market, the only way to go up market or go to enterprise or kind of scale a company to that size was to use Salesforce, and that is not the case any longer. Like we're actively seeing that now. So if you've ever wondered what the hell that meant, you didn't believe me, but somebody mentioned earlier, like, how's he doing that real time? But if you ever wondered what that meant, that's what it is.
Yeah.
A philosophical shift.
Love it. It's let's see, starting to remember, it's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. And we're only on the 9th day of November. Like, that's insane.
Yeah. Right at 3 a day. What's wild to me, and I know it's over the 3 o'clock Eastern mark, but I got to stay on another minute or so.
Yeah, me too.
It's wild to me the amount of updates, period. We know that. But it's also wild to me the amount of almost retroactive updates to fit the new updates. Like with all these, you know what I mean? Like with all the, you just mentioned one of the coolest updates in a long time is the single object like report that you can put in that middle tab for reasons we just talked about. How does that impact other things? Like how does that impact the ability to, so for every one update or for every one new feature, it impacts what? Hundreds of other things that they're,
because it's all interconnected. That's the best part about, the HubSpot's done a lot of work. Their product team has done a lot of work building out these frameworks that other products end up getting built out on. So it's built in a way where it's working with everything else for the most part in the way that you would expect it. Obviously, there's still stuff that they do today where it's just like, I don't really understand like why it's not connected or talking to this tool or doing this thing the right way or like whatever, right? But like, for the most part, they've done a lot of this like legwork on like the framework of everything where like new products getting kind of like built in or new features kind of getting built in is already kind of work with everything. Like look at the leads object that launched with, I'm pretty sure it launched with workflow compatibility and reports compatibility day one. You know what I mean? Like, and it's just because they've updated those tools to be able to have new stuff that gets created kind of plugged into it so quickly. So yeah, man, it's just really cool stuff. But Rob, I know we're kind of getting to the end of this here. Thank you so much for joining me, brother. I really appreciate it, especially since this was last minute. I literally texted you last night, I think at like midnight, being like, hey, I got some time tomorrow in between the other stuff that I'm doing. Let's do a happily hour. Let's get some FaceTime with everybody. And you made it happen, man. And I appreciate you so much.
It was late, but I read it early because I was in bed. Yeah, man, thanks for having me. I did want to shout out one thing that's big news to me and anybody that has watched this, if they don't already know, is that Sprocketeer, kind of a community for HubSpot admins, HubSpot end users, people that are active, is moved to Slack from Discord now. So
Slack, nice.
Yeah, so that was one of the things is like the only reason I have Discord. I use it for gaming and for whatever. I know that you are using it too.
Yeah, I'm a little gamer boy. You know what I mean?
A lot of people don't, which is cool. So now like you can have it as a Slack tab. Now it's up. I think within a couple days we had almost 400 people that have moved over and are enjoying the experience there. So also would be remiss of me not to say shout out veterans. Thank you for your service. Welcome home. I know it's Veterans Day tomorrow. I have a lot of military family members and stuff, and I know that one of our founders is a military guy, went to West Point. So thanks, Matt, wherever you're at, and
thank you for
anybody
your
else out there that's anybody else out there that's a veteran or military and is also in B2B. It's a cool transition that I've really focused on, and Matt's kind of helped with that. But like bringing people that were in the military into this space. The concept isn't new, and a lot of what's really interesting for another talk is kind of the ERD understanding of people that are in the military and have all these structures and battalions, and like they understand it almost inherently better than just the normal person because of how things are associated and related to each other. So if I was gonna make, if we're doing hot takes and like sports betting, I would make a bet that like military people will move more into tech in the next, 2, 3. That's coming. I would say that's coming. And wouldn't surprise me at all, man. ERD, like all of those entity relationship diagrams and how things are associated it's hard for people to understand, and they're just really good at it inherently.
And super important for you to understand too, especially like if you're in like any sort of like tech sales role or customer, relationship management or anything like that, like knowing how to navigate the dynamics that are caused by those things too is so huge.
Or build
as well.
workflows or do any of that stuff, man. It's wild. But yeah, I just wanted to shout those two things out, and shout out you, man, and Happily for having me on and all the cool stuff you guys are doing.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it. I love everything you're doing too. You just launched a new video, didn't you?
It's I didn't want to shout that out. It is it's a magic trick. It took a lot of takes, but the idea was, all this editing and all the cool stuff. I've got a cool team of people that are helping out with videos, but I wanted to do one that was like choreographed, like a performance. And it just, didn't.
I'm sure
I did not do a very good job. About 8 takes in, I was like, that's what we've got, man. We'll just run with it.
I'm sure it is absolutely beautiful, and I can't wait to go watch it after this, man. Sweet. Well, guys, thanks for tuning in. Really appreciate it. Again, I'm going to try to get the Happily Hour like up and running on a regular schedule as soon as I possibly can. I got like a giant list of people, including you're on that list too, that I want to have some intimate conversations with. Big thing that I'm going to want to focus on is, having people come show cool that I muted myself too. Cool stuff that they've actually built on HubSpot, right? That's what we're doing here at Happily, and we want to encourage others to do the same. But also talk about like any other, topics y'all would find interesting. So anyway, I'm going to go ahead and play us out here. Rob, as always, man, I appreciate your time. Love you bunches.
You're the best, Max.
And we'll talk soon.
Man. I will talk to you soon.
Yeah, man. All right. Have a good one. And thank you everybody for joining us. Don't forget to go to closeonecity.com. Go get some hats. It's time for the holidays. Later, everybody.